been talking about what Azeroth is, whether she's a Titan or not, for years now. We've been speculating, but finally, with the new Chronicle book that was just released, we have actual confirmed information to the letter. Interesting enough, Chronicle Volume 4 completely retcons Volume 1 that says that Azeroth is supposed to awaken as a Titan, that it's an Ascent Titan, but instead it said that it could awaken as a Titan, but under the influence of the Void, it can awaken as a Void creature as well. It's almost certain now that the Titans are the invaders that have been trying to convert our planet into their own order creature, and the theory that they put Azeroth into a massive prison, as is evident from the last Titan logo, is getting even more support. So what is all this information and what is really going on? Actually playing WoW on your phone is now possible with Awesome, this video sponsor. It allows you to control your desktop from your phone completely free, which is perfect for checking in on your WoW characters when you're away from the keyboard. It's super easy to use. Just click my link in the description, download the PC and the phone app and just connect them. The free version is great as you can control your desktop, but the real deal is the game version with custom keyboards for various games such as WoW, with great FPS and sound as well. Make sure to use my code DORAN to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart plug to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on Pro and game versions. Check out Awesome. For the people that have been following every single hint we had gotten for the past 2 years, I mean, this isn't really that big of a news. We've gotten so many hints that Azeroth isn't really a Titan, or that all this is really ambiguous, and in Dragonflight they started kinda outright stating it, so the entire world soul thing, the Ascent Titan thing really started shifting. The main difference now is that Chronicle Volume 4 was just released, and we got an actual official description right at the start of the book on what Azeroth is. So the entire ordeal that Azeroth is an Ascent Titan really started with the first Chronicle book. We never really knew anything about Azeroth even being alive in the past, and later this was confirmed that Chronicle was from a Titan perspective, and all this info also came to us in the game from Magni Bronzebeard. Check out my previous video on how we fell for one of the biggest cons in all of WoW history, but it's almost certain that Magni was completely bamboozled, and in turn he bamboozled us as well. Remember, the Whisper, King of Diamonds, has been made a pawn. Essentially attribute these whispers to just about anything, but now it's almost certain, as we're like a month before the War Within expansion released, and we have so much information on what is going on directly from the game. Slight spoiler, but Magni kinda stops being the voice of Azeroth in this expansion, and he returns back to his former self. This is super suspicious, because you would imagine a guy that is like the voice, the speaker for Azeroth would be of most use right now when Azeroth is actually sending these visions and is apparently in grave danger. However, it's now very likely that xal'atath has been the one behind BFA and the entire Wounds champion and us cleansing Azeroth and the Wound, and who even really knows what Azeroth even is at this point. Remember, Magni got us so hyped for saving the world's soul, which he thought was a Titan, one of his creators. He got us to drain the artifact weapons into the Wound, one of these artifacts being actually xal'atath, which I'm guessing kinda led us at least in part where we are right now. Now in Dragonfight we've gotten hints that Azeroth is not a Titan and that it's something elemental in nature, which makes complete sense, as remember previously we were told that the elementals are the true native forces to most of the planets in the universe, actually to all the planets in the universe, and that is why all the elementals consider themselves as the original inhabitants. This came with the entire painting the Titans with the villain brush, which is now all but 100% confirmed. I mean, we literally got a giant Titan construct attacking us outright in the War Within. However, if you wanted confirmation for certain that Azeroth is not a Titan, well, look no further than the new Chronicle. Interesting enough, as a Titan biased book as it apparently is, it doesn't seem so Titan biased from this description, as if we're learning this from a Titan perspective. I mean, you can imagine the truth may be even crazier. So the book starts off with retconning the first Chronicle book in the series that stated that the Titans are wandering the universe and finding these nascent world souls, which are their own kin, and helping them come to life, and it says this exactly. Long ago, 7 Titans born of order wandered the great dark beyond. Together, these godlike beings search the universe for world souls, essences of incredible power and potential that could one day awaken as the Titans themselves. So, this statement is really the first time Azeroth was referred to something other than an Ascent Titan officially by Blizzard. Interesting enough, they specifically stated the 7 Titans and that they were apparently born of Order. I'm not certain if they're still pushing the entire Xal'atath Orders thing or if this is referring to the Titans being converted from these world souls like in the past. This is almost certain now that they have created the 7 from the other world souls in the universe by pumping them with Order. The only thing is, who created the first Titan, which is apparently Amantul, that started awakening the others and started this entire process and even knew this could be done, this entire process? It's really like the chicken or the egg type situation. However, the most interesting statement here is that Azeroth is now being referred to as an essence of power and that it could awaken. So this really makes it seem like Azeroth is just one giant massive power source that it isn't even alive. It's something like the Well of Eternity, just a million times bigger. If this is the case, it would really only whisper if it started awakening as something sentient if birth was imminent. This actually makes perfect sense with what is currently going on, as if the Void is now close to doing what the Titans wanted to do, the whispers are 100% coming from the Void. I mean, there's no way a Titan is whispering to Magni if it's going to awaken as a Void being. However, this gets even more interesting as it literally says this. It states that when the Titans discovered Azeroth, a planet with such potential, they brought order, seeded a myriad of life forms, hoping to call forth the world soul. Essentially, it's what we had previously believed. They didn't seed these life forms so that we can have a good life. It was all a plan to create these Titan facilities and to start the conversion process. However, the book gets even more interesting. One Titan encountered a corrupted world soul tainted by the agents of the Void, monstrous creatures known as the Old Gods. If the corrupted world soul were allowed to mature, it would give birth to destructive void creature of considerable power. Terrified by this, Sargeras destroyed the planet before it could rise in the service of the Void. Honestly, this is literally one of the biggest lore statements, official lore statements in the past few years, and I feel like it essentially answers the entire World Soul saga, at least until midnight. If you remember the previous Chronicle books, they stated something along the lines of if the Void came in, they would create a Void Titan instead of an actual Order Titan. However, here, they're strictly saying that Azeroth is neutral, that it can arise either as a Titan, or it can arise as a creature of the Void, or possibly something else. If we take this as true, this is essentially what xal'atath is trying to do right now. She's trying to finish the awakening, which is exactly what the prophecy stated from Dragonfight. The Harbinger will complete the awakening. This means in midnight we will literally see this process of Azeroth being turned into this destructive void creature of considerable power. It kinda also answers like what happens to Azeroth once it awakens. Now here it gets even more interesting. You must have already heard by now the theory that the world soul of Azeroth is in this giant Titan prison, and I feel like this new Chronicle information just kinda adds even more evidence to that theory. The entire thing came from the logo of the last Titan that looks exactly like the prison for elemental beings, the primal incarnates from Dragonfight, which was in fact a Titan creation, a Titan prison, and by this theory the entire world is put in this prison. Like literally it's the same thing when you compare this prison from the cinematic and the actual logo, like the runes and the rings, like it is up to the letter. Chronicle just stated that Azeroth is actually an essence of power and potential that could awaken as whatever power wants to influence it. By the lore that we know, the Void came to Azeroth first, just like that planet that Sargeras had destroyed in ancient history because it was too late. The Titans apparently came in last minute and they undid the Void corruption and planted their own servants and facilities everywhere, and then started a new conversion process to turn it into a Titan instead. What I do feel like is the missing link here is that this might have been the reason for the Sargeras Titan Pantheon split. I think Sargeras must have believed it was too late for Azeroth and that it must be destroyed, while While the others went the route we will soon learn of trying to convert it instead into just do another process on top of the Void one, the Dragonfly documents kinda laughed at the Titans of how they greatly exaggerated that they stopped the Black Empire and the Old Gods, and instead they just kinda sweeped a bunch of things under the rug. I think they must have realized that they can't really undo the process, so if it gets real bad, they created the mechanisms like the one in Oldar that would wipe out the planet if Azeroth, for example, broke free. This kind of changes the whole Sargeras was just driven crazy theory, and before that he was a noble titan, but the Fel got to his brain. No, really by this lore, both of them wanted to do the same thing. It's just that Sargeras thought the Burning Crusade was the only way to establish order, as it's impossible to do anything with the methods that Pantheon is pushing. Like, you can't really do another process on top of the current Void process. Don't get it twisted, the Titans would wipe us out just like Sargeras would in an instant if they could. I mean, they literally wanted to do that in Oldar, we've seen it with our own eyes. It's just that Sargeras was an outright villain, while the Titans are a little bit more secret about it. However, I feel like there is yet another mechanism we will soon learn about, and that is the prison that they had put the World Soul in. As in, it can't awaken as anything until they come to complete the process, so I feel like Azeroth may possibly awaken in the confines of this prison, like the Void creature would be in this prison, and that is what could lead us to the last Titan, which is apparently this massive conspiracy that we were told about on BlizzCon. We would have to see how it plays out, but I do feel like if the prison thing is real, this is what is going to trigger the Titans to actually come in person. As we were told by retcons, soon we will see just how much they really care about us when we see them in person. Of course, way too early to say anything for sure, but we're already moving in a great direction. We now have confirmation Azeroth is just an essence of incredible power. It might not even be sentient, and we're essentially caught in the middle of at least two big cosmological forces fighting to take over our planet. Thank you for watching. Check out who is the new Void Lord Invaders by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Ancient Training by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.